Hello and welcome to this presentation. My name is Annelieke van den Berg, and I'm a researcher at TNO Vector, which is an applied research organization in the Netherlands, a center for societal innovation and strategy. I will be presenting submission number 1320, and this is titled Capabilities for Governmental Data Ecosystems for Solving Societal Challenges. And I'm presenting work that I did together with my colleagues, Marissa Hoekstra and Fleur van Veenstra. The context of our research is as follows. Well, as you're all aware of, as being participants in the Data for Policy conference, data can provide valuable input in policymaking concerning societal issues. And data ecosystems have an important role to play in unlocking this potential of data because it's shared among different organizations and it needs to be brought together to be really able to bring into light this valuable insights. We find that research about data ecosystems is currently quite often focused on the adoption of a specific technology, for example, AI, rather than what happens when data ecosystems come together around societal issues. And we think that in intergovernmental contexts, it's much more likely that organizational and cultural aspects become to the forefront as important aspects that make or break the success of a data ecosystem. So therefore, the research question that we pose is, what aspects contribute to the successful functioning of intergovernmental data ecosystems aimed at tackling societal challenges? The method that we use to study this is a comparative case study of two Dutch data ecosystems that are quite mature. We collected data via desk research and by conducting semi-structured interviews in late 2022. And we spoke to 3 people per case, and they had different roles such as program managers, director of information provision, researcher, and policy advisors. So 2 cases that we studied are as follows. The first case is called VVET, which is aimed at improving information provision for the energy transition. So this ecosystem originated in 2019 from the demand of having high quality data to be able to govern the Dutch energy transition, or get that underway, and to really substantiate the visions, plans, and strategies for this shift towards a carbon-free energy system. Participants in VVET can roughly be grouped into 3 categories, where the first one is a user panel, which includes parties that have the need for accessible and reliable data in order to carry out the task for the energy transition. So this includes municipalities that are being represented by the Association of Netherlands Municipalities, but also provinces and the regional energy strategy regions. Then second, you have national actors that manage information that can be insightful for the energy transitions. And this can be labeled as the data management party. And this includes the Statistics Netherlands, the Netherlands Environmental Assessment Agency, the Netherlands Cadastre, Netherlands Enterprise Agency, and then also the Ministry of Infrastructure and Water Management. And then third, there are the financing parties, which are the Dutch Ministry of Economic Affairs and the Ministry of Interior and Kingdom Relations. So it's quite a varied group of people that are involved, or organizations that are involved. 2 main obstacles for the information provision are tackled in VVET. This is firstly focused on solving data gaps, and second on technical obstacles. The second case is zicht op ondermijning, or view on subversive crime. And the goal of this ecosystem is to make patterns visible and to gather insights that contribute to tackling subversive crime, which would then thereby contribute to making society more resilient for the undermining effects of organized crime. This also involves several Dutch municipalities and the Ministry of Interior. Here, also the Ministry of Finance is involved, as well as the Ministry of Justice and Security. The Dutch Tax Authority is involved, and the Netherlands Public Prosecution Service, Police, Central Bureau of Statistics, and Leiden University. So again, a broad group of participants. So this data ecosystems is focused on making data available or accessible, aimed at preventing undermining criminal activities. And this network has created a dashboard that gives insights into the undermining activities that happen in different regions of the Netherlands. And here it's found that there are a number of challenges that make it difficult to exchange data in the safety domain. So this is technical, such as the availability and quality of data, but also legal, because the legal frameworks are not always easy to adapt in large partnerships and collaborations. Well, from our analysis, we found that data ecosystems that aim to tackle societal challenges face a new type of interdependencies. And this means that a lot of time goes into searching for common ground, shaping the collective goals and setting priorities in data ecosystem, and finding out a way in which you can come together with such diverse people. So in our analysis, we identified in the end 5 narratives about key aspects that contribute to the functioning of a data ecosystem. And these particularly focus on organizational and cultural aspects. And then I'll walk you through those 5 narratives. So the first narrative has to do with the process of deciding which data are actually necessary to unlock. And here it is stressed that a question should be used as a guide to articulate data demands. So data must be at the service of the societal task that the data ecosystem wishes to address. By starting from a question, participants can realize that you actually don't need all the data to be effective. There is a dynamic that people tend to be data hungry and will ask for as much data as they can possibly get. But as is also shown in the quote, when you get specific about a question, you can filter what's actually needed. Right? So the quote says that very good demand articulation is necessary, and people need to be clear about what they need and why, and really to the level of what attribute and specifications they need. So it's not enough to just say, I need information about heat, but you need to pinpoint what is it that you need to know about heat and for what purpose. Why do you need the data and how do you want to use this? So this illustrates that big questions need to be narrowed down and further articulated before it's very obvious which data source can be used to answer the question. The case about subversive crime therefore established a process to establish or to arrive at the right questions and data. So here they would first come together with local partners to get input and prioritize a research question. Then there were thematical meetings to refine these research questions and to reprioritize them. Then more technical people would do a feasibility check, whether it's possible at all to answer these questions such a way, and only then would data preparation and collection start. The second narrative is about investing in a common language and shared definitions. So the network of actors that is involved in a data ecosystem involves multidisciplinary experts. The complexity of data projects and societal challenges really require that policy and domain expertise, as well as data expertise and legal expertise, and this across several institutions, come together in an initiative. And because of this diversity, it is important to invest time in this common language and to make sure that people understand the same things when a definition is used. Again, it is important to answer detailed questions, because otherwise there is a chance that information is produced where people will not agree on this information and people will interpret it in their own way. So this is also illustrated in this quote, that especially when you zoom in, you will find out that things are more complicated than they appear. So a lot of attention needs to be dedicated to what we're actually talking about, and do we define crime in the same way. And this is also important because you find that also technically the data can be a lot different if crime is defined in different ways in different databases. So the statistics can also be very varied. So in the energy transition case, it would also find that this definition in data was not always the same. So for example, there was no common language in data about solar energy, and the same for wind energy. The process that they took to make this clear was appointing an independent project leader that could facilitate this harmonization of data. And it was important that this project leader was independent because there was no conflict of interest involved. So this project leader took stock of the various definitions that were used by which parties and for what reasons, and then used this as a start for developing a conceptual framework. So this way of working was appreciated, and in this data ecosystem, they've now established this as a way of working to do this harmonization of data in the future as well. The third narrative focuses on ensuring that all these varied experts that I've just mentioned are involved in a sustainable way in the data ecosystem. So managerial support is very important in making this capacity available at a longer period of time. This is also shown in the quote. So you need to be within means to actually do something. And it never or almost never depends on the willingness of people. However, the problem is the moment you come to management and they say, yes, this has to be done, we have no money for it and there is no time for it, well, then it becomes very difficult. So yeah, this managerial support really makes or breaks the availability of these experts. And an additional problem for data ecosystems that surround societal challenges in particular is that they are very vulnerable to fluctuations in managerial support, because whether societal issues remain high on administrative agendas is dependent on a lot of different factors, such as the political climate, notable events, and whether new urgent issues emerge. So this is something that has to be navigated quite delicately. The fourth narrative is about managing the interpersonal relations within the collaboration. And here, expectation management is very important, as well as being clear about shared and developing shared interests. So as a start, it really helps to make explicit what people's interests are in the data sharing program, as this helps to create rest and mutual respect. So partners need to understand each other and know which interests they have in the collaboration. In both cases, stress that the flexibility of participants is really what helps to make collaboration a success. And this is because at times the interests of the collaboration need to be prioritized over the interests of the organization. This is also mentioned in the quote that's shown on the screen. Some of our interviewees stress that actually the urgency of a societal challenge then really helps participants to take on a more flexible attitude that they may otherwise have. A specific way in which the case on subversive crime managed these shared interests was by answering the questions that they, for which they unlocked data in such a way that more stakeholders would actually be helped by this. So, for example, if one of the participating municipalities posed a question that they really wanted to have answered for their own municipality, then the analyses were always done for all the municipalities in the Netherlands. So this then led to insights for the entire data ecosystems system that works on solving this societal challenge, and not just for this one specific stakeholder that brought in the initial question. The fifth narrative has to do with making sure that the collaboration is organized well. It is vital that there is clarity about organizational structure. However, it's found that it's usually most successful to let this grow in an organic way, where you have buy-in also from all participants. It's also on the screen. So people must see sufficient need for an activity so that they're willing to invest energy in it. And then it really helps to start bottom up with small clusters of people who work together and deal with a specific question. And these people will really see the urgency of the question that they're tackling. And then from that bottom up moment, as the sense of urgency can flow upwards. And then also the managers become more on board. Now, I was stressed that this can be a slower process than when a direction is imposed from above. However, it also makes sure that there is more support from all participants when priorities change, because it has developed organically. Additionally, for creating a structured way of working, it is very important that there is someone who takes up this convener role and coordinates between different participants in the ecosystem. So, for example, a participant in the crime case said that it was really necessary to have someone who brings together the different parties that have questions, and also manages the different knowledge and expertise in different organizations. Then third was what was mentioned in all cases was the importance of establishing different moments for formal meetings on different managerial levels. So there will be an interdepartmental meeting, an intergovernmental meeting, or sometimes a local meeting. And this happened in both cases. Yeah, and the case on crime in the end ended up developing a 13-step process which describes in detail which steps need to be taken, and then also at which step which roles need to be involved. And part of this I already mentioned earlier in the process of making a question more clear. This brings us to the discussion and conclusion. So in this study, we examined data ecosystems that reason from a societal issue rather than from a technology. And we find that intergovernmental data ecosystems for societal challenges are complex, dynamic, and vulnerable to fluctuations. The 5 narratives that we spoke about illustrate how both ecosystems that we studied deal with these challenges. So at the core, we find that softer aspects are very important. And this is also shown in the quote on the screen, where a participant said, data sharing sometimes sounds easy, but it's not. And it's not about the technical aspects, but it's about all the fuss surrounding it. So we find that the success of a data ecosystem is to a large part dependent on the extent to which parties within the data ecosystem are able to find common interest, decide which actions get prioritized, and figure out a way to work together. And if these softer aspects are not tackled successfully, then it also becomes much harder to tackle the technical issues that may arise and to create a prolonged and fruitful collaboration. Now, there are also 3 limitations to the study that I want to mention. First of all, it is heavily oriented towards the public sector, so we have no insights about how collaboration changes when private parties are involved. Additionally, the cases that we studied are focused on the Netherlands as a setting, and culture has had an important impact on the approach in these ecosystems. So the Dutch context in policy making, there's really a lot of room for discussion. It's not very authoritative, and also people are quite cautious and hesitant in sharing data. Third, both ecosystems made use of a system of Statistics Netherlands, CBS. So they did their computations in a very safe environment that was already established. And yeah, the question is whether when this needs to be built up from the ground, more technical complexities arise. Whereas now the focus was really mostly on the cultural and organizational aspects that were brought up by participants. Taking these limitations in mind, this study was still able to uncover very valuable narratives about how different mature intergovernmental data ecosystems handled cultural and organizational challenges. And these narratives can be insightful to other data ecosystems that are currently being built. I'd like to thank you very much for watching this presentation. In case you have any questions, feel free to contact me or one of my colleagues. Our email addresses are on the screen.